All right, this is going to be a video on how to set up your band poster, music poster, gig poster, whatever you want to call it. The first steps in order to create this document. So if you are in the classroom, you are going to see here that we have the turn in the sketches. That should already be done. And then you have the music poster examples and discussion, which you should have watched these videos, looked at the examples, signed up for your band, all that stuff. And then next comes this band poster info and steps. And here is where we are going through and just kind of keeping track of what we've talked about in class. And I'm going to show you some of these. I'm going to show you how to set it up, your artboard here as an 11 by 17. I'm template, and then I'm also going to show you how to pull your sketch in to use as a template, how to set that up, how to start tracing, make sure your layers are organized and all that. And then all of these other things here where it comes to type, warp, gradient, pattern, 3D, and effects, those I will do in a separate video. Okay, so here we go. So here's how to set it up. First thing you're going to do here is you're going to say File, New. That's going to bring up this pop-up window. Or when you open up Illustrator, you may find that this pop-up window already comes up and you can click over here on the left and it says Create New. Either one is fine. You're going to do that to get to this window to start a new document. The next thing you want to do is all over here in this right-hand side panel. First thing is set up your name. So name the document. You're always going to put your your last name, then your first name, and then whatever the document is. So I'm going to say like music poster. So White Valerie music poster, that's my last name, my first name, and my music poster, so that I have it named. So if I ever lose this, I can Google search it in my drive, or I can search it on my computer and try to find anything that has to do with me. Next thing, most important, make sure you are in inches. A lot of times this program will default to points or picas or pixels, and those are going to be much smaller than inches. So we want to make sure we are in inches. Next thing is this document's going to be 11 by 17. So you want to match this right here. And then you can choose whether or not you want a vertical orientation or a horizontal orientation. And most of us are picking vertical from what I've seen from your sketches. And you're going to have one artboard. We are doing a bleed for this time, just so we can get used to seeing what that looks like. It is 0.125 inches on all four sides. Your color mode is going to be CMYK color, and your raster effects are going to be 150 or medium, 150 PPI. This will be best for when you're using your Chromebook. That way it does not take up too much of your RAM while you're working on this. I want you to keep it medium. And preview mode can just be default, that's fine, and you're just going to say create. What you'll end up with should look like this. This is your artboard, and this here red line around the outside is the bleed line. That's where you'd pull any background color out to that bleed line so you know that you'd be over the cut line, which is this black edge here. Next thing you want to check now that you're in here is you want to check your properties panel. Make sure you have your properties and your layers panel open over here. If you don't have those two panels, or windows as you might call them, open, you can check up here with the word window and just make sure that layers and properties are both checked. All right, so make sure that those are both on in your windows so that you can see them both, because you're going to use them both. I'm going to move my swatches over here. There we go. Okay, so right now you can see my properties panel. If I open it, it's showing me what my artboard has. It's saying that my artboard's in inches. I can see that I have one artboard because there's nothing here yet. So it's telling me the properties of what's here, and that's just the artboard. And my layers, I got nothing, right? So then first thing I want to do here is I want to pull my sketch into this document. Now, you might be working on Citrix, which means you are on a portal to another desktop. And in that case, you're going to have to probably take an extra minute or two to figure out where is your sketch. It might be in your Google Drive, or it might be on your desktop of your Citrix desktop There. Those would be the two best places to get it. Wherever it's at there, though, you're going to pull that, drag and drop on top of your design, just like this. Now, in this case, you see here, it's huge compared to the actual artboard that you can see back there. So I would need to scale this down, and I want to hold shift when I grab this corner, because if I don't hold shift, I could end up doing something like this, which is absolutely not what I want. So I want to hold shift so I can strain those properties so that it stays in proportion to how I want that to be lined up. And then just go ahead and line it up however you want it to line up, so that you can start tracing. Once you're good with how that's lined up there, then what you want to do is you want to make that layer a template layer, okay? To make this a template layer, what we're going to do is we're going to go over here in our layers panel, and we are going to double click in this gray area here, okay? It's kind of a no man's land. It's not the text, it's not the dot, it's the in-between space here. So I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to, I could name it, I'll say name it template. And I'm going to click the template box. That will automatically make this a template, and I can say dim images. It's going to dim them to 50%. I want this to dim even more. So I'm going to say dim to 30%, and I'm going to say, okay. What you can see that did right there is my template is now called template. It's locked, and it is labeled a template because it has a square. If you go down to the bottom of your templates your layers panel, and you click the plus, you add another layer. This will be your working layer that you will start with. And you can see the difference between a working layer versus a template layer is a working layer has an eyeball and a template layer has a square. So my working layer, now I can go ahead and I can start, and I can name this, say something like, maybe this is going to be the face. And, I can go ahead and add a whole bunch of layers if I want to start out with my blank layers, or you can do them as you go. It's fine with you, fine with me. You'd say title and so on and so forth, and all the information. And as you build it in there, make sure you're keeping your layers clean. The other thing I want you to just keep in mind while you're working on this, I'm going to use this one as an example here that I have. I started this one. I am going to turn off all these layers here, and you can see that this is my template layer that I would be starting with. So I want to trace this face, and then I'm going to add the text as well onto this. But I want to use this as my template. So I pulled this template in here. It is a template layer. And I pulled this image in, and I locked it as a template layer. The other thing that I wanted to do is pull in what I call a reference layer, which is this one right here. That's not for me to trace in any way. This is only here for me to reference so that I can see the actual colors and pull from the actual colors if I had a color image there. And then I would start drawing the actual face. So I can see here that my layers are actually a little bit cluttered because I have to add one here that says reference image. And I'm going to pull this image here, this linked file, this little box. I can move this into the reference image one. That way I can lock that as well. So here we go. I have my face now that I've started to trace in general. I then started adding some of these things. And what I do is I do this the exact same way that we did the ice cream sundae. I start by doing one shape. Then I lock it, I turn it off. Then I do the next shape. And then lock it, turn it off. Then I do the next shape, lock it, turn it off. That's how I do it. That way, when I'm done, I have everything stacked, and I can change my order if I need to move the lips, in front of something or behind something so that you can see them. I can by moving my layers around, and I don't end up accidentally grabbing something, because a lot of times what happens is if you try to draw something that may run into one of these shapes, if it's not locked, your pen tool will keep wanting to grab onto the other thing instead of doing its own thing. So I would always lock those layers before I move on to the next shape. Layer, 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 complete shapes, filling in with the shape. Do not use the paintbrush tool to scribble in and fill in colors. You have to change your way of thinking for this project and for Illustrator and go with full shapes and layers. All right. Good luck. And I look forward to seeing your pieces. And please, please, please ask me if you have questions.